Colin Fox, why should people vote for Rise?
To ensure that the Scottish Parliament's got socialists in it again.
Now, you were a socialist, you are a socialist, you were in the Scottish Parliament,
yes.
You were elected on an SSP ticket, you had a high profile during the course of the independence referendum. Wouldn't it have been better simply to stand under the banner of the Scottish Socialist Party? It's a brand that the public are familiar with.
Well, it's very kind of you to say so, Bernard, about my high profile in the election campaign. And of course, Rise, Scotland's Left Alliance, is that rare thing. It's left unity. The left coming together, presenting an alliance. So we've had conversations in the past. We'd criticised the left for being divided all the time. And here we are, the Scottish Left Alliance, Rise, respect, independence, socialism and environmental justice.
But why do you think you could make the breakthrough this time? Because, I mean, you have been on the left all your life. You've been in the Labour Party, Scottish Militant Labour, the Scottish Socialist Alliance, the Scottish Socialist Party, Rise. The history tells you that the history of the left is one of splits and ultimately electoral failure.
You missed the altar boys there at the very beginning, but of course this is left unity coming together. This is Rise, and our expectation is that we've worked together in the Radical Independence campaign, we worked together in the Yes campaign, offering a distinct radical vision of Scotland. And so we're now working together in the Scottish Parliament elections in the hope of getting an MSP elected in all 8 regions of the country. That's an ambitious plan.
You're obviously looking at the fact that a lot of people were energised specifically at the time of the independence referendum. How can you drive that forward? Because the SNP seem to be, frankly, not coherent when it comes to saying unambiguously there ought to be a second referendum.
Yeah, I think Rise is coherent. Rise has made it absolutely clear a vote for Rise is a vote for a second referendum on independence in the lifetime of this Parliament. Now, all of us on the independence side of the campaign, nobody wants a referendum we're going to lose, but we need a mandate for the Scottish people, because it can be forgotten that a referendum is still within the powers of Westminster. We need to force Westminster to give us another referendum. And of course, I think everybody in the independence campaign believes that inevitably there'll be a majority for independence, and we want the opportunity to exercise that majority and secure self-determination for Scotland.
What would your view be if the SNP manifesto fudges this issue, comes up with a form of words, but doesn't unambiguously say we need a second independence referendum to deal with issues of austerity,
I expect them to fudge it when their manifesto comes out next week. It seems to me the SNP is like the Labour Party was 100 years ago. The Labour Party is established to build a socialist Britain. And before long, it became more important for the Labour Party to have MPs in parliaments and to run constituencies and have governments. And they forgot the cause. And the SNP is in that classic position of forgetting. The SNP exists to achieve independence. Now it's all about getting John Swinney elected, Fergus Ewan elected, all about getting MSPs elected in areas where there was a no vote, and forget about independence. And that's fatal in my opinion. Once you start forgetting what you're about, then you lose sight of your ambition. And that's what Rise will never do. We're for independence because it's a means to an end. You
want a second referendum. Solidarity want a second referendum. Isn't it, frankly, reckless, if independence is the ultimate goal, to argue for it when it is not clear and unambiguous that a majority of Scots are going to vote for it, where if there's another referendum in a year's time, it will merely be a rerun of 2014 and arguably a rerun of 2014 when the economic arguments, certainly in relation to oil, look a lot weaker.
Well, nobody's in favour of a rerun of 2014. Nobody wants to see a second referendum defeated. On the independence side, that would be fatal. But of course, what's mistaken, I have to say, in this election, independence is Banquo's ghost. Independence is the dominant force in Scottish politics today. Working class communities across Scotland, sick to the back teeth of the Tories, suffering poverty, wages and austerity, and see independence as the only route now available to us to get rid of Tory governments that we hate. And yet Labour never talks about it, for fear people would be reminded they were in bed with the Tories. And the SNP never talks about it because they want to present their record of competence and get another government at Holyrood, rather than building the case for independence, along with the SSP and Rise and the Greens and the independence movement that you mentioned, to ensure the argument on oil is, Bernard, that industry should be taken into public ownership. Norway owns its oil industry. Britain, we just get the coppers from oil company profits. It's not good enough.
OK, Colin Fox, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
We'll watch out on election night if you're running across that floor
I
again.
guarantee it.